There have been a number of stations in Peterborough. Peterborough East from 1845 to 1966, the current station which opened in 1850, previously known by various other names including Peterborough North, and briefly Peterborough Crescent between 1858 and 1866. Peterborough East Station was opened on the 2nd of June 1845 along with the Ely and Peterborough line built by the Eastern Counties Railway and the Northampton and Peterborough Railway built by the London and Birmingham Railway, both of which provided routes to London. The Syston and Peterborough Railway by the Midlands Railway was opened in 1846, and on the 7th of August 1862 the ECR became part of the Great Eastern Railway. The Great Northern Railway arrived in Peterborough with the opening of its major portion of its loop line between Peterborough, Spalding, Boston and Lincoln, which opened on the 17th of August 1848. At first, GNR trains used the ECR station at Peterborough East. During the construction of the GNR line south to London, it was decided that the GNR would need their own station at Peterborough. This was decided upon in December of 1849 and opened on the 7th of August 1850, together with the new line, which originally terminated at Maiden Lane. The permanent London terminus at London King's Cross had not been ready until the 14th of October 1852. The GNR's Peterborough station is the current station and had several names previously. Originally Peterborough, it became Peterborough Priestgate, then Peterborough Cowgate, reverting to Peterborough in 1911. On the 1st of January 1923, the GER and GNR became constituents of the London North Eastern Railway, which found itself with two similarly named stations in Peterborough. To distinguish them, they were given new names on the 1st of July 1923. The ex-GER station became Peterborough East, and the ex-GNR station Peterborough North. After Peterborough East station closed on the 6th of June 1966, Peterborough North once again became Peterborough, the name by its which is still known. The Great Northern Railway heading north to Grantham and Doncaster opened in 1853 using the GNR station. The line was built alongside the Midland Railway as far as Helpston, resulting in adjacent but separate level crossings at various places, including the Crescent level crossings in Peterborough city centre. Interchange between Peterborough East and the GNR station was inconvenient, so on the 1st of February 1858 the Midland Railway opened Peterborough Crescent station, a short distance from the GNR station and close to the level crossing of the same name. Some GER stations were working through to the GNR station by 1863, and Peterborough Crescent was closed on the 1st of August 1866, when the Midland Railway trains began using the GNR station instead. The Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway branch to Wisbech and Sutton Bridge opened in 1866. To access this line, trains headed north and diverged left at Westwood Junction, then continued north adjacent to the Midland Railway line, but gaining height, then curved east and bridged over the Midland line, the GNR line and Lincoln Road, and headed off towards Eye Green, which is approximately the route of the current A47 Sock Parkway. Services to Rugby by the London North Western Railway from Peterborough East and to Leicester by the GNR from their station started in 1879, when the London North Western Railway built a line from Yarwell Junction near Wansford and Seaton, linking the Northampton and Peterborough Railway and the Rugby and Stamford Railway. Also, the Flet and Curve via Woodston to Autumn Waterville by the Great Northern Railway. Rail services from the station were at their peak in 1910 before the economics were made during the First World War, most of which were never reversed. The express train services calling at Peterborough were mainly those between London and Leeds and York, but there were also through coaches to Grimsby via Spalding and Boston, to Cromer via the MGNR line, to Sheffield Victoria and Manchester London Road via Retford and the Great Central Railway, and to Hull, Halifax, Blackburn, Harrogate and Bradford via Doncaster. Bradford trains used a direct route either using the GNR line via Morley Top or the LYR line via Thornhill. Most trains between London and Newcastle and further north passed through Peterborough without stopping, so it was usually necessary to change at Doncaster or York. In 1910, the GNR was still running trains to Leicester via Wansford and Seaton in direct competition with the Midland Railway, which ran via Stamford. The GNR route and times were competitive, but in 1910 they offered only 3 trains compared to the 6 by the Midlands Railway, and they didn't serve a significant portion centre of the route. Services to Northampton and Rugby ran from the East Station. G&R service to Leicester ended in 1916 during the First World War, and in March of 1959 the line to Wisbech and to Sutton Bridge closed along with most of the rest of the MG&R, and local services on the G&R main line ended, with a number of minor stations including Yaxley, Farset and Tallington being closed. The Northampton and Peterborough Railway closed in May of 1964, followed 2 years later by the closure of Peterborough East Station, and the passenger services to Rugby in June 1966, which part of this line was reopened as the Nene Valley Heritage Railway, whilst in the same year several minor stations on the Birmingham line were closed, including Helpston and Ketton and Collingswood Western. The final closure came on October of 1970, when the lines to Spalding, Boston and Grimsby were closed, although the Peterborough to Lincoln line to Spalding was reopened on the 7th of June 1971, with a shuttle service of 3 trains per day each way. This service was improved in 1982 with the closure of the March to Spalding section of the former Great Northern and Great Eastern Joint Railway, when the Lincoln to Cambridge service became the Lincoln to Peterborough service. In the 1970s, major alterations occurred on the British Railway to the former North Station. In 1972, the track layout was remodelled to provide high-speed through lines and 2 new platforms. G&R made platforms 4 and 5 redundant since the withdrawal of the East Lincolnshire line services, and through platform 6 were removed, together with all the buildings between platforms 3 and 6. The new through lines scything through the site of the latter. New platforms 4 and 5 and an island to the west of the fast lines on the former Midland Railway lines were opened. In 1976, the life-expired G&R booking hall and the east side buildings were demolished due to their condition and replaced by portakabins. A contract was awarded to a local company, Bernard Stockley, to provide replacement buildings, which, with alterations, are those in use today, and these were opened a couple of years later. Further facilities were provided post-privatisation as part of the Great North Eastern Railway's £10 million station improvement programme to modernise facilities at key stations along the East Coast Main Line. The Modern Travel Centre is part of a £1 million upgrade, which includes 2 new passenger platform lounges on platforms 2 and 3, since renumbered to 1 and 2 following the closure of the original bay platform at the south end of platform 2, new toilet facilities on platform 2, which is now platform 1, 4 and 5, new customer information screens and improved security, including the installation of CCTV cameras within the station and the car park. A further major remodelling occurred in 2013 when 3 new platforms were opened and the original platform 1 bay was removed. Originally, platforms 2 and 3 were now renumbered 1 and 2. A new platform face on the southbound through line was opened and numbered 3, together with a new island platform to the west of the station on the site of the former fly ash sidings, a reversible freight line, these being numbered 6 and 7, and both passenger footbridge and the former parcels bridge at the north end of the station were extended to the new island, with lifts also being installed. Network Rail then spent a reported £2.5 million station on Peterborough and its surroundings in a move which was intended to increase passenger capacity on trains and ease freight movements through the station. This upgrade has since seen changes to the booking office and station concourse buildings, along with the introduction of ticket gates. In addition, some refurbishment and work had been made to the waiting rooms and other facilities on platforms 4 and 5. So we'll get started here at Peterborough with 802-305, working 1H02 from London King's Cross to Hull. Next through the station is 801-108 and 800-202 for LNER, working 1A19 from Bradford Forster Square to London King's Cross. In to terminate on platform 1 for Gavia Thameslink is 700-134. terminating with a service from Horsham. Taking this by surprise for LNER is 800-113, working 1 Whiskey 11 from London King's Cross to Aberdeen. Just departing behind the Thameslink for East Midlands Railway is 158810, working the 10:45 service from Nottingham to Norwich. The first of many freight trains today sees GBRF 66703, working 4 Lima 28 from Doncaster Airport to Felixstowe South. Next out to depart is 801213, working the 10:50 LNER service from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. Quickly following on its heels is 700-134, working the 10:54 Gavia Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Next up for LNER is 800-208, working the 11:01 LNER service from London King's Cross to Lincoln Central. Taking us by surprise on platform 2 is 66745 for GB Railfreight, working 4 Lima 98 from Masborough N&W to London Gateway. freight just keeps on coming in the form of 66712, working 6 Echo 85 from Middleton Towers to Barnby Dung Rock Glass. And as that pass is going in the opposite direction is 801226, working 1 Echo 05 from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. Next train out to depart is 801209, working the 1110 LNER service from Leeds to London King's Cross. Whilst trying to sneak out behind that is 66413, 66590 and 66540, working Ozulu 28 from Leeds Barn Road to Whitemore Yard. Wouldn't be a thing without a tamper moving, as we see DR 75401 and DR 75402 working a move from Peterborough Waitrose sidings to Huntingdon Down sidings. The freight just keeps on coming in the form of 66550, working 4M81 from Felixstowe North to Crewe Basford Hall. And arriving now is the next Thameslink service to terminate from Horsham in the form of 700-107. Next LNER service to arrive is 800-112, arriving 5 minutes late, working the 1118 LNER service from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. And departing in the opposite direction is 700-107, working the 1124 Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. first 91 working of the day sees 91-111 for the Fallen, working 1 Delta 10 from London King's Cross to Leeds. Freight number 5 of the day is 66762, working 6M60 from Whitehall Yard to Mount Sorrel. Next train out for departure is 801222, working the 11:29 LNER service from York to London King's Cross. Here's a big old freight train now in the form of 60055, working 6 Zulu 16 for DC Railfreight from Chatterton Sidings to Kings Lynn. First LUMO action of the day is 803005, working 1 Sierra 93 from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. And going in the opposite direction for LNER is 800205, working 1 Alpha 22 from Harrogate to London King's Cross. And the next arrival for via Thameslink, terminating from Horsham, sees 700-126 arrive on platform 2. Flying through to Grand Central is 118-114, working 1 Alpha 61 from Sunderland to London King's Cross. And quickly departing behind that is 158865, working the 1141 East Midlands Railway service from Nottingham to Norwich. Next around the corner of Grand Central is 180112, working 1 Delta 71 from London King's Cross to Bradford Interchange. Freight number 6 for the day is represented by 66054, working 4M79 from Felixstowe South to East Midlands Gateway. Flying northbound on the fast line is 801212, working 1 Sierra 13 from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. Whilst departing in the opposite direction is 801225, working the 1150 LNER service from Glasgow Central to London King's Cross. First cross-country action of the day, see the description why, is the 1154 service from Cambridge to Birmingham New Street with 170-103. Another double LNER set in the form of 801111 and 801107, working the 1152 service from London King's Cross to Leeds. Departing the other way is 700-126, working the 1154 via Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Next for LNER as the freight train disappears is 801218, working the 11:59 service from London King's Cross to York. The Sun starts to make an appearance now for the arrival of 801205, working 1 Echo 07 from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. Arriving 24 minutes late with a service from Ipswich for Greater Anglia is 755329. Freight train number 7 for the day is 66168, working 6 Libre 42 from Mount Sorrel Sidings to Barham. Another Gavia Thameslink Terminator now, this time on platform 1, sees 700-113, terminating from Horsham. Taking us by surprise on the far side, 755329, departs 18 minutes late with the 11:50 Greater Anglia service to Ipswich. Another taking us by surprise is 800-103, departed with the 12:10 LNER service from Leeds to London King's Cross. Next up for Grand Central is 180-108, working 1 November 92 from London King's Cross to Sunderland. Next train to arrive is 801215, working the 12:18 LNER service from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. And as that big pole gets in the way, 802304 passes, working 1 Alpha 93 from Hull to London King's Cross. Next train out to depart is 700-113, working the 1223 via Thameslink service to Horsham via London to Pancras International. Whilst coming the other way is 800-206, working 1 Delta 12 from London King's Cross to Harrogate. And sneaking in behind that is 158852, working the 1226 East Midlands Railway service from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street. Flying through the middle for Hull trains is 802301, working 1H03 from London King's Cross to Hull. Another Thameslink Terminator, this time on platform 2, as 700-137 terminates from Horsham. Next through the middle, pushed by 91-106 for LNER, is 1 Alpha 26 from Leeds to London King's Cross. Next up through the middle for LNER is 800-110, working 1 Whiskey 16, the Highland Chieftain, from London King's Cross to Inverness. Over on the far side is 158803, working the 1243 East Midlands Railway service from Nottingham to Norwich. Coming up the East Coast Main Line is 800-202 and 801-108. Working the 1252 LNER service of London King's Cross to Leeds. Whilst departing in the opposite direction is 801-229, working the 1247 East the LNER service from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. A wild cross country appears in the form of 170-109, working the 12:54 cross country service from Cambridge to Birmingham New Street. Arriving next for LNER is 800-207, working the 13:01 service from London King's Cross to Lincoln Central. Whilst going in the opposite direction is 700-137, working the 12:54 service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. After departing from a red signal, we see 803-003, working 1 Echo 82 from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. Next up right behind it is 801-206, working 1 Echo 09 from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. The next Thameslink service to arrive and terminate from Horsham is 700-103. Flying through the middle for LUMO is 803-001, working 1 Sierra 95 from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. We haven't seen the freight train in a while. Freight train. It's 66704, working 4M29 from Felixstowe North to Birch Coppice. and it's 2 for the price of 1 freight train to the former 66051, working 4 Lima 45 from Wakefield Europort to Felixstowe South. Arriving next for LNER is 801213, working the 1318 service London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. Coming from behind the containers for Cross Country is 176622, working the 1316 service of Birmingham New Street to Cambridge. Whilst again coming from behind the containers is 158858, working the 1326 East Midlands Railway service from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street. Next up for LNER is 801209. Working 1 Delta 14 from London King's Cross to Leeds. Quickly going in the opposite direction is 700-103, working the 1324 Gavia Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. And the Thameslink just keep on coming as 700-123 terminates with a Gavia Thameslink service from Horsham. Another little flirt coming now in the form of 755409, terminating with the Greater Anglia service from Ipswich. Next fast through the station is 180-114, working 1 November 93 from London King's Cross to Sunderland. Departed 10 minutes late as a local haul service propelled by 91127, working the 1330 LNER service from York to London King's Cross. And right behind that, running 8 minutes late, is 800 102, working 1 Alpha 29 from Harrogate to London King's Cross. Departing over on the far side is 158785, departing 5 minutes late with the 1341 East Midlands Railway service from Liverpool Lime Street to Norwich. Arriving over on the far side is 801226, working the 1348 LNER service from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. Departing on the far side is 755409 with the 1350 Greater Anglia service to Ipswich. Next cross country in is 17623, working the 1354 service from Cambridge to Birmingham New Street. One in, one out now is 801 101 and 801 105 past 801 201, working the 1352 service from London King's Cross to Leeds and the 1350 LNER service from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross, respectively. Next out to depart is 700 123 with the 1354 Kavia Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International.
Oh yeah, so you know.
Freight train number 9 now is 66119, working 4 Lima 38 from East Midlands Gateway to Felixstowe Central. Next in to arrive is 801222, working the 1400 LNER service from London King's Cross to York. Coming the opposite way for LNER is 800-107, working the 1 Echo 11 from Aberdeen to London King's Cross. Whilst in the background, freight train number 10 arrives in the form of 66708, working 4M33 from Felixstowe North to Hams Hall. As the freight train trundles in the background, 700-117 arrives, terminating with a convenient Thameslink service from Horsham. Here comes freight train number 11 in the form of 66543, working 4 Lima 85 from Tinsley Intermodal to Felixstowe North. Next to Zuma up is 801225, working the 1418 LNER service from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. From behind the freight cars again is 17104, working the 1416 Cross Country service from Birmingham New Street to Stansted Airport. With the freight train out of the way, next through is 158810, working the 1426 East Midlands Railway service from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street.
I'm alright.
Next out is 700-117, departing with the 1424 via Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Whilst trying to pass through on the far side is 57312 Dragon 465250, working 5Q46 from Worksop Up Reception to Ely Papworth. Next, running about 10 minutes late for Hull trains is 802-305, working 1A94 from Hull to London King's Cross. And coming the opposite way for Hull trains is 802-304, working 1H04 from London King's Cross to Hull. Arriving to terminate on platform 2 with another via Thameslink service from Horsham is 700-127. Freight train number 12 now is 66721, working 4 Lima 13 from Hams Hall to Felixstowe North. Starting 10 minutes late is 800 208, working the 1429 LNER service from Lincoln Central to London King's Cross. Freight train number 13 now from behind the containers is 66711, working 4 Echo 21 from Felixstowe South to Doncaster Railport. Next for LNER is 801203, working 1 Whiskey 20 from London King's Cross to Aberdeen. Freight train number 14 is 66557, working 4 Echo 24 from London Gateway to Leeds FLT. And rather inexplicably, they let that through before this one, as 91106 arrives, working the 1451 LNER service from London King's Cross to Leeds. Next out is 700-127, working the 1454 to be a Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Departing 15 minutes late between the containers is 158812, working 1441 East Midlands Railway service from Nottingham to Norwich. And running 10 minutes late down the East Coast Main Line is 801210, working 1 Echo 12 from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. This time terminating on platform 1 with a Gavia Thameslink service from Horsham is 700139. Freight train number 15 now is 66714, working 6 Echo 88 from Middleton Towers to Gould Gasworks. Running some 32 minutes late is 91111, working 1 Alpha 31 from Leeds to London King's Cross. And quickly behind him is Down Highland Chieftain 800-106. Working 1 Echo 11 from Inverness to London King's Cross. Coming the opposite way for LNER is 801229 with the 1517 service from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. Departing 5 minutes late behind the 700 is 801107 and 801111 with the 1510 LNER service at Leeds to London King's Cross. Next East Midlands Railway now is 158865, arriving with the 1524 service from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street. Crossovers now, as running 10 minutes late for Grand Central is 180.106, while it passes 8:01.214, working 1 Alpha 65 from Sunderland to London King's Cross and 1 Delta 18 from London King's Cross to Leeds, respectively. Next train for departure is 700-139. Yes, 700-139. Working the 1524. Could be a Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Whilst in the background is 66125, working 64 Echo 25 from Bow Depot to Heck Plasmore. Next LUMO train now is 803-003, working 1 Sierra 97 from London King's Cross to Edinburgh Waverley. From behind the freight train is our next freight train in the form of 66509. Working 4 Lima 78 from Leeds FLT to Felixstowe North. And the next Thameslink service to arrive to terminate from Horsham is 700-141. Over on the far side, arriving to terminate with a Greater Anglia service from Ipswich is 755-325. Whilst departing the opposite direction is 801-2018, working the 1530 LNER service from York to London King's Cross. Pair of passes now as 118.111 passes 800.108. Working 1 Delta 73 from London King's Cross to Bradford interchange, and 1 Alpha 34 from Harrogate to London King's Cross, respectively. Next to Zuma working is 801.206, working 1 Whiskey 22 from London King's Cross to Starling. Departing on the far side 5 minutes late is 158.799 with 1541 East Midlands Railway service from Liverpool Lime Street to Norwich. Next out for departure is 801.220 with the 1549 LNER service from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. Next for Greater Anglia is 755325, working the 1550 Greater Anglia service to Ipswich. I believe this is number 17 as we see 66727 working 4 Lima 11 from Maspero N&W to Felixstowe North. Next out to depart is 700.141 with the 1554 Gavia Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. sun starts to go down, we see the arrival of 801-205, working the 1558 LNER service from London King's Cross to York. Coming fast through the middle is 800-101, working 1 Echo 15 from Aberdeen to London King's Cross. Next, Thameslink Terminator from Horsham, over on platform 2, sees the arrival of 700-128. Fast through the middle is 800-203, working 1 November 23 from London King's Cross to Middlesbrough. Whilst going the opposite way for LNER is 801-108 and 800-202. with the 1610 service from Leeds to London King's Cross. Over on the far side for LNER is 801-201 with the 1618 service from London King's Cross to Glasgow Central. Departing on the far side is 170-639 with the 1620 Cross Country service of Birmingham New Street to Stansted Airport. Through the middle for LNER is 800-107, working 1 Delta 20 from London King's Cross to Harrogate. Whilst over on the far side is 66-780, working 4 Echo 20 from Felixstowe South to Maspero N&W. And then departing in the opposite direction is 700-128 with the 1624 via Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. in from behind the containers is 158813, working the 1627 East Midlands Railway service from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street.
If we're lucky.
As the sun continues to set, we see the departure of 800-207 with 1629 LNER service from Lincoln Central to London King's Cross. Over on the far side we see 802-305 working 1H05 for Hull trains from London King's Cross to Beverley. And going the opposite way for LNER is 801-209 working 1 Alpha 37 from Leeds to London King's Cross. Arriving to terminate on platform 1 with a Gavia Thameslink service from Horsham is 700-134. Departing as darkness begins to fall is 801-216, working 1650 LNER service from Edinburgh Waverley to London King's Cross. And quickly following that is 700-134, working the 1653 Gavia Thameslink service to Horsham via London St Pancras International. Quick change of ends for the last few clips sees 802-301 pass through, working 1 Alpha 95 from Hull to London King's Cross. Departing on the far side is 800-208 with the 1701 LNER service from London King's Cross to Lincoln Central. And your final clip is 17531, depart with the 1710 East Midlands Railway service to Lincoln Central. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed what you saw, click on the 2 videos here at the end screen. Helps out the channel. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you are new and got this far. And we'll see you all in the next video, folks, wherever that may take us. We'll see you then, folks.